Save Scars by Izuku's. Read by The Viridian Ghost. Summary. Midoriya has a save scar for me. Aizawa drawls. What exactly does that imply? A save scar. It means he got a scar. It means a scar he got from saving you. Uraraka joins Mina's side with a wide smile. He was showing us last night. He has at least one scar from saving every person in our class. Did you know? They're all over him. It's crazy cool, Kaminari says. You know, in a super Midoriya-freaky way. Aizawa frowns, arms over his chest, as he studies his students. Fine, I'll bite. Alright, I'm curious. Or, Izuku quite likes all of his scars, contrary to popular belief, and he lets everyone know exactly why. Whoa, dude, did you seriously manage to bust up your hands even more? Kaminari catches the newer scars littering Izuku's wrists as he's cutting up the brownies he just made. And he snatches Izuku away from the task to grab his right palm, fingers brushing over the uneven patches of skin, far gentler than what's needed. Holy shit, when'd you even get these, man? Izuku hums, tilting his head to look at which ones Kaminari was referring to exactly. Oh, Kaminari, you were there when these happened. His smile widens as Kaminari gets even closer to his wrist, pressing the pads of his fingers against the scars. Remember, I knocked you to the side from the knock-off magneto and those metal pipes? You know, the ones? He urged. It takes a moment for Kaminari's brows to raise and eyes to flash with familiarity. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I remember. His head falls to the side and his face twists. Nasty things, those scars. Sorry, man. I didn't want to be someone that added to your list of injuries. I was just kinda out of it that day. There was so much going on and... sorry. I'm pissed at myself. Your hands are already so beat up. Huh? Why? Don't be. I don't mind. I'm glad it was me and not you, actually. Izuku smiles, picking up the plate of brownies and exiting the kitchen. Kaminari quickly follows right behind him, and Izuku continues. Besides, scars are kind of my thing. They make my ugly, clunky hands look better, you know? I wouldn't want your pretty hands to get ruined. Well, I mean, your hands would be pretty regardless, but... Your hands aren't ugly and clunky. Whose hands aren't ugly and clunky? Uraraka asks, as Izuku and Kaminari are back in the common room. Izuku sets down a large plate of a variety of sweets on the center table. There's an area... The area's been slightly adjusted for the movie night that's getting ready to happen. They're just waiting for a few more classmates. Uraraka grabs a brownie. Wait, let me guess. Deku. He always says that about himself. His poor self-image is annoying. Kaminari scoffs. Tell me about it. I'm right here. Ida quickly sits up beside Uraraka, clearing his throat importantly. While I disagree with Uraraka talking about you so unflattering, I agree with her, Midoriya. You should view yourself in a better light. Your hands aren't ugly just because of the many scars they bear home. They're very cool and heroic, I think. Oh, no, we were just talking about the scars making my hands ugly. Izuku takes a seat on the floor, making some space between the couch and the table. And Kaminari sits next to him. He holds out his hand. I'd never hate my scars. I love every single one of them, actually. You love all your scars? Are you sure? Tsuyu questions, head resting on Uraraka's lap. She presses the tip of her finger to her lip. You have so many. I feel like there's at least one you're not fond of. Statistically? Even a minor one. Izuku smiles and shakes his head. Sorry, not one. Every scar I have holds a saved person behind it. They're all very important to me, and I'm happy with all of them. Kaminari makes a face. Okay, now you're fooling us. He rests an elbow on the top of the table. It's kind of awkward because of how low he is, sitting cross-legged on the floor, but he's Kaminari, so it works just fine for him. Like, I remember the origin of a lot of my scars. Most of them, actually. But I also have some where I got zero clue on its story. Yeah, Kaminari's right. Sero's sitting on one of the armchairs by himself. He doesn't look up from the phone game he's playing, but his expression is amused. I don't even have that many, but I can only remember how I got a handful of them. Sometimes things get muddy in between, or the events just kind of mush together into one, and you can't help but not remember. Izuku frowns. Muddy? Yeah, silly. Mina chimes in at this point. Muddy, like when say it's been a 4-day mission, and you don't really take everything into account until it's all settled. And by then you're like... Mina grips her pink curls and shuts her eyes and waves her head around. Ugh. Where did I get 7 cuts from? The building that almost fell on top of me, or the villain we were battling, or when I fell 6 stories high? Usually like that. You don't remember the zoom-in details, usually. Zoom-in details, huh? Well, that's weird, because I do. I was just telling Kaminari that these ones... Izuku points to the half-healed gashes along his wrist. We're from that mission last week. We teamed up with the Lurkers and had to travel to Chofu and face off against Kane, the pipe villain, who had the ability to manipulate metal. Metal pipes this size were rushing right into Kaminari's direction. I pushed him out of the way, and my wrist ended up being the target. Izuku taps the large scars on his wrist. Clean cuts straight through the bone, shattered everything. Eek! Uraraka squirms with a wince. I'd cry, that sounds so painful. What happened next? What happened next is probably the reason for these scars. Izuku grins and holds his arm higher on display. He bent his hand forward with a flick of his wrist. Grabbed all the pipes in my wrist, bent them for a better grip. And on my cue, I had Kaminari use his quirk on the pipes to take them out. To take out Kane. I got burnt in the process because of the entire electricity, metal, very hot thing. But the pipes were out in enough time for me not to be in too much pain. Hell yeah! Kaminari slaps his hands against Izuku's in accomplished high fives. The rest of the clap excitedly at this small story. God damn, that's so freaking manly, dude. Kaminari Kirishima suddenly says as he makes his way into the area. He's grinning and stops near Izuku to check out the healed gashes for a brief moment before continuing his way to one of the couches. He shudders violently, teeth clattering. Get chills every time you tell a story, man. Oh yeah? Mineta challenges Izuku. Then how about the rest of your hand injuries? You have too many to count. Bet you don't even know where they all came from. Are you stupid? Jiro scoffs. Everyone knows he broke his hand like 10 million times just to make Todoroki feel better about himself in our first year. Those are his most famous scars. it's true, Shoto says, entering the common room at this time. He takes a cookie from the plate and leans against the front of the couch between Uraraka's legs to let her willingly play with his hair, while he rests his legs in Izuku's lap. He takes a bite of his cookie. He obliterated his hands just because I look sad. Izuku's face burns. There's more to it than that. Why do you keep trying with that excuse? Uraraka laughs. No one believes you. Mineta falters and looks embarrassed as he shudders. Well then, what about your shoulder scar? That big one on your shoulder, I've seen it. Izuku thinks for a moment, and then he smiles, pulling his left arm out of his sleeve, and yanking up the left side of his shirt to show the shoulder. There's a welt-like scar going from his shoulder to his elbow. He opens his mouth, but... What the? Mineta jumps. Where'd that one come from?
Wait, yeah, I only know about the one on your right shoulder with no skin? Sero says. Game paused to squint at Izuku's left shoulder. When did you even get that one? It was from a 2-day mission I was doing with Kirishima in our second year, Izuku says brightly as he turns to look at his friend who's sitting on the couch beside Sato, Mina, and Tokoyami. Remember we were tracking that dude with the blades all over him, the big guy, Kirishima grins. Of course, man, you saved me. How could I forget? It was another pre-huge mission situation where my and Midoriya's agencies were kinda just gravitated in the center of trouble. Anyway, it was super dark, and the lights of the city were out for a few minutes because of the guy's quirk. I couldn't move and I was freaking out, but Midoriya was there and it all turned out great. But yeah, that definitely looks like it was from one of the dude's blades. Big things. Yeah, it got pretty deep in there, see? Izuku holds his arm out more and laughs at the hovering hands. You can touch. How come I've never noticed this one before? Sato asks with a deep frown, tracing over the thin, long bumps off his shoulder to his elbow. It looks painful. It's probably because he always wears that brace, Ojiro says. Never thought about why he suddenly started wearing 2, but yeah. Uraraka sits up. Yeah, 2 arm braces now. I didn't even realize. Deku, stop getting hurt. Too late. Sorry. But anyway, the scar you guys are thinking of is this one. I got in my back in first year. Izuku pulls his right arm out of his sleeve and lifts that side too. His shirt hangs over the front of his chest as he turns to face the small crowd of his friends and classmates in the huge common room. Training camp. I fought this huge villain and saved Koda. Good times. Holy cow. There are cool palms pressed against his back, and Izuku immediately knows it's Hagakure and her high voice. You have so many scars back here. And what's this one? The skin's all rotted and scratchy? And what about this one down here? Or this one? Your spine looks all damaged. Is this all really okay? How are you alive, Midoriya? That's debatable, but all my scars are fully healed, so it's fine. Don't worry. Izuku smiles brightly and pulls his shirt completely off. He turns around so his back is facing everyone again, most of which have shifted from where they were sitting to get a closer look at his back. This one near my left shoulder was when I saved Uraraka in our second year. Nothing serious. I remember that. Whoops. Uraraka says. It was pretty stupid. I was nervous, and it was my first time really working with Deku by my side. And it was a super serious mission. And there was this car, and Deku had to push me out the way. And he fell and his back got scratched up pretty bad, I guess. I'm so sorry, Deku. Don't apologize. I'm really happy I could save you. It's no worries at all. That spine injury was also from a small thing, actually. Ian and I were on a shopping trip and had a run-in with a few not-so-great women. They were planning on robbing the store we're at. Oh, I remember that. I remember you guys talking about that. It was a long time ago, right? Sero says. Right. Ida smiles, with something akin to pride. I made a foolish error when we were in a bit of a tight situation, he explained, swinging his arms stiffly through the air. And Midoriya was the one who took the brunt of what happened. He was, thrown into one of the shelves that happened to carry some heavyweight products, hence the bruising on his spine. It was kind of wild, and I'm all healed up now, I guess. My skin just hates going back to the way it was before an injury. Kaminari laughs. Yeah, no shit. What about these ones? They're kinda weird scratch kinda ones down here? Izuku snorts. You guys don't remember? That was during quirk training and Mina and Sero a few months ago, last period. Oh! Mina giggles, slapping her forehead. Right, the rocks. I remember that. Sero and I almost got trampled. We were messing with one of our combos and didn't notice the tipping at the top of our target, and they fell, and next thing we know, we're on the floor screaming our heads off, Sero says, and Midoriya's standing over us with his arms spread like wings. He looked like an angel in the light, but yeah, I was convinced I died, to be honest. And he totally saved our asses. I remember that, Shoji says, sounding a little amused. I do too. Tokoyami folds his arms over his chest as he sounds just as amused. A series of unfortunate events, but an eternity of laughter for those who witnessed the misfortune. Hey! Mina whines. We were scared, okay? Wait. Jiro sits up. Okay, so far Midoriya's gotten a scar from saving Kirishima, Todoroki, Kaminari, Uraraka, Ida, Mina, and Sero. That's 7 of us. Who else do you have scars from? Is that it? I don't think so. Izuku hums, turning around. His abs are littered with just as many scars as his back. He presses his palm under the left side of his chest. This one's from saving Tokoyami and Dark Shadow. It was during a thing with Endeavor and Hawks. They kind of teamed up for a mission. Anyway, there was this woman with light beams coming from her pores. Dark Shadow can't handle light very well, so I kept them both away. I guess the beams were hotter than I assumed, and it left a burn-like mark. I'll spend the rest of my days making up for that evening, Midoriya. Ah, no need. You're fine. All healed up, remember? Speaking of burns, though, Izuku lifts his shorts a bit to show the burn on his right leg thigh, covering a majority of the underside of his thigh. An actual burn. I pulled Jiro, Yaoyorozu, and Kendo out of a burning building this one time, and I kind of fell on a burning piece of wood as everything was crumpling around us. But we saved all the kids inside. I remember. Yaoyorozu smiles, a bit fond. Terrifying, but Midoriya's actions were, well, very Midoriya. Very Midoriya. Jiro snorts, twirling her earpieces around her index finger. Uraraka sighs. You somehow always find a way to out-Deku yourself, Deku. I'm not sure how I should feel about that sentence, but the rest of these are pretty minor cases. Even then, I love them all so much. Here. Izuku points to a different scar over himself. Something going back to small marks on his arms, or thigh, or leg, and explaining each mark. And sure enough, he has a scar from every person in Class 3A. He has more than a couple for a select few, like Shoto, Uraraka, and Ida. And some from somewhere as small as a minor cut that never faded or went back to match the color of his skin. Like for Koda, Soji, and Suyu, but like Izuku had told them, behind every scar and mark and bruise, there's a saved life or a person saved from fatal injury. He smiles and chirps and laughs, squeezing his eyes and crinkling his nose so genuinely that it's hard not to believe him when he tells them and again. I really do adore them all, you know? You guys mean so much to me, and it only makes sense that the scars I have from helping you guys in any way I can would make me feel the same, right? 4 of them are crying. Aoyama, Kirishima, Kaminari, and Uraraka. I've said it 1,000,000 times before, and I'll say it again, man. Kirishima's lips quiver as he babbles and dabs at his wet cheeks. You are so freaking manly, dude. Midoriya. Sometimes you're too bright, and I can't take it. Uraraka presses her hands over her eyes. I can't look. Yeah. Forget about what I said earlier about not wanting to add to your list of scars. Kaminari sniffles, rubbing tears from his cheeks. I'm the latest addition. Yeah, that's right. Suck on that. Yeah? Well, I'm the first, Shoto says smugly, eyeing Izuku's hands. I'm on top. His first and most favorite scars are because he wanted to save me. Just that much. Nobody can beat me. Nobody can touch me. Peasants. Izuku jumps with a nervous chuckle. Wait, hold on, guys. This isn't a serious... Hey, that's discrimination. Mina gets to her feet, pointing an amused finger at Shoto. Just because you were his first doesn't mean you're the best. I'm not sure. Ida raises his glasses importantly. I suppose we should take into account the cause of the scars into account. Izuku chokes. The cause of the scars? Then I still win. Shoto shrugs. I looked sad. Looked. My life wasn't in danger. I wasn't going to die. I simply looked sad, and he broke his fingers like 50 times each. I feel like you aren't playing fair, Todoroki. Jiro frowns. Can that even count? Shoto's crossed arms tighten. I'm not sure what you mean. Well, I feel the situation is so bizarre, Midoriya, that it shouldn't count for anything. Who even breaks their hands more than 10 times for someone who declared war on them that morning because they look sad? That's insane. It shouldn't even count. We have to compare a different incident. I'm with Jiro. Kirishima raises his hand. I don't think that's playing fair. Yeah. Kaminari raises 2 hands. Me neither. Ojiro raises his tail. Neither do I. I don't either. Soji raises 5 skin-made hands. I feel like you guys shouldn't be playing whatever this is. Izuku shouts, trembling fingers in his curls. What are you idiots yelling about? Bakugo's voice is hard, followed by his large stomps and low growl as he marches his way into the common room. Aren't we supposed to be watching a stupid movie or something? I made sure I was 15 fucking minutes late just so I could avoid this shit. We're talking about Izuku's scars. Uraraka chips in. She points at Shoto. Todoroki's discriminating because he was the first one of us that Izuku saved, and as a result was the first person to leave a scar on him. We're trying to overthrow him because the circumstance is so Deku. We don't think it should count. Huh? I was the first one to put a save scar on Deku. Save scar! Mina snaps her fingers. That's such a good name for it. Bakugo stays silent for a moment, then his face screws. No, the fuck he wasn't. Impossible. What? Shoto frowns as he sits up and narrows his eyes. Yes, I was. The earliest save scar was me. Sports festival. I was the first one who... No, you weren't. Bakugo scowls and stomps his way over to Izuku. He bends down and points at a small scar on Izuku's knees. Stupid nerd got that when we were 4. What? The rest of the classmates shout, Kaminari and Uraraka being the loudest. Yeah, I fell off a bridge and he climbed all the way down just to make sure I was okay, like an idiot. He also fell on his way down the rocks. Probably didn't realize it. In fact, I didn't even realize it until 2 years ago. But he fucking saved me that day. So, suck on that. I win. It was quiet as Bakugo gets to his feet with his hands in his pockets, a smug smirk on his face. The entire time, he makes his way over to the couch. He grabs a handful of popcorn and kicks his legs up. So, we gonna watch a movie or what? Mr. Aizawa, did you know that Midoriya has a scar for every one of us? Mina says loudly as they walk into basic heroic training the next day. All Might standing beside Aizawa, which means this must be some strange collab thing. Actually, how much do you want to bet that he has a save scar for you too? Midoriya has a save scar for me. Aizawa drawls. What exactly does that imply? A save scar. It means he got a scar from saving you. Uraraka joins Mina's side with a wide smile. He was showing us all last night. He has at least one scar from saving every person in our class. Did you know? They're all over him. It's crazy cool, Kaminari says, walking onto the field with Kirishima and Sero on either of his sides. You know, in a super Midoriya-freaky way. Aizawa frowns, arms over his chest as he studies his students. Fine, he'll bite. All right, I'm curious. Wait, I am too. All Might rushes in. He looks a little wary. How many did you say again? Mina laughs. Well, there's 19 of us, but he's got a lot more than that. We said he saved us all at least once. It's at that point that Izuku walks into the area with Shoto. He goes to line up, but he's stopped by Aizawa's call. Midoriya, can you come here for a brief moment? Izuku already knows where this conversation is headed as he jogs over. He's got a couple of crooked fingers buried in his mass of curls, anxiously as he stops in front of his teacher. Yes, Mr. Aizawa? Aizawa stares at him for a good long moment. Arms folded over his chest as his eyes narrow, and he sighs, pinching the bridge of his nose. I hear, he drawls, face morphing into something akin to regret for his life decisions. You bear home a scar for every time you saved a classmate of yours is. We want to know if you have a save scar for Mr. Aizawa, too. Mina trips in evilly. Show us, Midoriya. If you don't, you lose. You're officially out. Izuku raises his eyebrow. He looks slightly troubled, and then hesitant and sheepish. His fingers thread through his curls. I gotta say, I got a scar from Mr. Aizawa, he mutters. But it's kind of small. I still adore it all the same, but I don't think it'd count as a saving scar. Seriously? Mina shouts at the same time Uraraka, Kirishima, and Kaminari. Izuku nods and makes a quick work of adjusting his hero suit to show the left side of his body, where 4 claw-like scars sit. They're typically hidden under his arm, it looks like. Izuku twists his lip. Mr. Aizawa, Shinso, and I were on a very short but important mission. And it didn't last longer than a night, but we were ambushed. I saw these guys, but my body moved faster than my mouth could. So I just went for it, and there's this girl who can kind of manipulate her bones. Well, she had a bone coming out of her knuckles for weapons, and I got scratched when I pushed Mr. Aizawa and Shinso both. I think may have resulted in scarring for both of them too. Aizawa's lips are pressed into a thin line, mouth twitched like he doesn't quite know what to say. Wait, you have a save scar for Shinso, Kendo, Eri, and Koda. People even outside of our class. Kaminari practically whines, dragging his head back and forth by the ends of his hair, which his fingers are gripping. He stomps. No fair, Midoriya. The ultimate test, though, Uraraka says. She brings up her index finger and points all the way to All Might. The teacher jumps as she shouts, All Might, do you or do you not have a save scar for him, Deku? Izuku presses his lips together, and then he sighs. I don't think I do. Ha! Uraraka snorts. My boy, All Might says, as he tilts his head curiously. What are you talking about? Izuku lifts his head. I'm sorry? I don't think I have a save scar for you, All Might. He pats around his body, brows furrowed. Well, it's not that big in size, but in general, I think it's quite large. All Might steps forward and gently tugs at Izuku's ear. He touches the tip of his finger to the scalp at the top of Izuku's ear. You got this. The day I was attacked by the sludge villain. Yeah, it's a scab that never went away. I told you about that, and I'm not sure what you're saying, though, All Might. I mean, if anything, you saved me 3 times that day. All Might laughs, that full, hearty laugh that always booms from his chest, and sets a heavy hand atop Izuku's curls. Sure, but don't tell me you've forgotten what took place that evening, after all that was said and done? Izuku remembers. In the afterglow of the sun, after All Might told him he could be a hero, and Izuku had cried so hard his head was throbbing and nose was clogged up by the end of it. He agreed to... Izuku gasps, slapping his palms over his mouth. All Might smiles. You said, I'll do it. And that was the beginning of you saving me, my boy. All Might pulls back and slaps the palm of his hand to rub the back of his neck, sheepishly, as he laughs loudly. I'd like to think you began saving me since our first encounter, but... All Might! Izuku's tears are spilling over before he can stop them, waving his hand frantically as he sniffles and sobs. You mean I saved... All Might is also looking frantic as he rushes to say, But I mean, it's nothing to cry about, young Midoriya. I mean, this is my favorite scar, Izuku declares, tugging at the scab on his ear. I'll cherish it for as long as I live. It's my most precious, I promise. All Might stiffens, and it goes silent around them. He audibly swallows. Young Midoriya, All Might wheezes, skinny arms squeezed tightly over his stomach, face paler than usual. He looks like he's going to be sick. He dares to look up and over Izuku's head at the rest of the teen's classmate as he slaps a palm over his mouth and as he gasps. For my safety, do you mind rephrasing that? Okay. That was longer than expected. Okay, that was Save Scars by Izuku's. Spelt not like how you would expect. One thing I will never learn is how to say Soji's name. You know, the dude with the arms. Like, I'm trying to find how to spell it. Hold on. You know which one I'm talking about. He's in class 1A. He has the ability to grow different body parts with his own skin. That one? Yeah. Never know how to say his name. Everyone else is pretty okay. Like, I mean, I can say pretty much everyone else's name, just not his. Also, if you heard any birds in the background, recently got 2 birds, and, that's why I've been gone for so long. I've just been taking care of them and just getting back into the hang of school, you know? So if you heard them in the background, it's not any alarm or anything. It's just them being loud. And of course, now that I'm trying to explain this to you, they're silent. Along with the dogs, they are just absolutely silent. Anyway, thank you for listening to this. Sorry about any mistakes you heard. I tried my best. If you have any comments or any advice you have, really, please let me know down in the comments. I'm running out of fics to read again, so if you have any recommendations, let me know, please. Because it's a lot harder than you would think. Because you gotta find one the right length that I can read without having to wait days and days for time. I do that anyway, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. This is the Viridian Ghost signing out. Bye, you guys.